Hello, and welcome to another thoughtful episode here at English Mindspace. I'm really glad you're here today. This is not just a place to practice English. It is a space to slow down, to think deeply, and to understand what happens inside you when life feels confusing, heavy, or uncertain. Every day, your mind is shaping your reality through thoughts you rarely question and beliefs you may not even notice. These beliefs influence how you speak, how you act, how you react to challenges, and how you see yourself in the world. Many of us move through life feeling stuck, not because we lack ability, but because we are guided by ideas formed long ago. Ideas that once helped us survive, but now quietly limit us. In this journey, we are not here to judge ourselves or force change. We are here to understand. Understanding brings awareness. Awareness brings clarity. And clarity creates freedom. As you listen, you don't need to agree with everything. You don't need to fix anything. You only need to stay present. Let these words settle gently. Let them open space in your thinking. Because real growth does not begin with pressure. It begins with noticing. And from that noticing, everything else becomes possible. Wherever you are listening from, whatever kind of day you're having, I want you to know that this moment matters. Sometimes we don't need loud motivation or dramatic change. Sometimes all we need is a quiet idea that slowly settles into the mind and begins to shift how we see ourselves. This space is not just about learning English. It's about learning how to think more clearly, how to understand your inner world, and how to grow with awareness. Language is powerful, but the mind behind the language is even more powerful. Today, we are going to explore something that quietly shapes your entire life, something that influences your confidence, your decisions, your fears, and even your future, often without asking for your permission. Your beliefs. Beliefs are not always loud. They don't always announce themselves. Most of the time, they work silently in the background, guiding your actions while you remain unaware of their presence. Every human being lives according to a set of beliefs. Some are helpful, some are limiting. Some feel so normal that we never stop to question them. Think for a moment about how you see yourself. Do you believe you are capable of learning? Do you believe you are confident, or shy, or average, or talented? Do you believe life is mostly difficult, or mostly full of opportunity? These ideas did not appear randomly. They were shaped slowly over time through experiences, words, and emotions. A belief is simply an idea that feels true to you. It might not be a fact, it might not even be accurate, but because it feels true, you live as if it is true. And that is where the real power of beliefs lies. If you believe something deeply enough, you begin to act in ways that support it. You make choices that align with it. You notice evidence that confirms it. And slowly, your belief becomes your reality. Not because the belief itself changed the world, but because it changed you. Imagine two people learning English. One person believes, I am bad at languages. The other believes, learning takes time, but I can improve. Both start at the same level. Both make mistakes. Both feel nervous sometimes. But their inner experiences are very different. The first person feels embarrassed when making mistakes. They speak less. They avoid practice. Every error feels like proof that they were right about themselves. The second person feels uncomfortable too, but they see mistakes as part of growth. They keep practicing. They stay curious instead of ashamed. After months or years, their results are different. Not because one was smarter, not because one had better teachers, but because belief shaped behavior, and behavior shaped outcome. This pattern exists in every area of life. Beliefs influence how you respond to failure. They influence how long you keep trying. They influence whether you see challenges as threats or as opportunities. And the most powerful beliefs are the ones you never question. Many beliefs are formed early in life. As children, we absorb the world without filters. We believe what we hear. We accept what we experience as truth. If a child is praised for effort, they often grow up believing that effort leads to success. If a child is criticized or compared, they may grow up believing they are not enough. A single sentence heard at the wrong moment can become a lifelong belief. Someone once saying, "You're not good at this," can quietly turn into, "I'm not capable." And because beliefs feel personal, we rarely question them. We say, "This is just how I am," without realizing that we are describing a belief, not a fact. Over time, beliefs become habits of thought. You don't consciously say, "I choose to believe this." It simply feels natural. You may believe you're not confident, so you stay quiet. You may believe you always fail, so you don't take risks. You may believe others are better than you, so you underestimate yourself. And every time you act according to that belief, it grows stronger. The mind loves consistency. It looks for evidence that supports what it already believes. If you believe you're not good enough, your mind will focus on mistakes and ignore progress. If you believe you're improving, your mind will notice growth and learn from setbacks. Same reality, different interpretation. This is why beliefs are not just thoughts. They are filters. They decide what you notice and what you ignore. They shape your emotional reactions. They influence how you speak to yourself when things go wrong. Think about your inner voice. Is it kind or harsh? Is it encouraging or critical? That voice is often built from beliefs. If you believe mistakes mean failure, your inner voice becomes judgmental. If you believe mistakes mean learning, your inner voice becomes supportive. Your inner voice affects your confidence more than any external opinion. And here's something important to understand. Beliefs are learned, and anything learned can be unlearned. But before change comes awareness. You don't need to fight your beliefs. You don't need to force positivity. You simply need to notice. Notice how you talk to yourself. Notice the stories you repeat. Notice the assumptions you make about your abilities. Awareness creates space, and in that space, change becomes possible. Many people believe that confidence comes from success, but often success comes from belief. Not blind belief, not unrealistic belief, but a quiet belief that says, "I can try, I can learn, I can improve." That belief keeps you moving when motivation fades. Life does not require you to be perfect. It requires you to stay engaged. Beliefs either pull you forward or hold you back, and often we blame circumstances for outcomes that were actually shaped by inner beliefs. We say, "I didn't succeed because the situation was difficult," but we don't notice how belief influenced our response to difficulty. Difficulty is part of every path. Belief decides whether you stop or continue. This doesn't mean life is always fair. It doesn't mean belief alone solves everything. But belief determines how you navigate what you cannot control, and that makes all the difference. You may not be able to change your past, but you can change how you relate to it. You may not control others' actions, but you control the meaning you assign to them. Beliefs shape meaning. Meaning shapes emotion. Emotion shapes action. This chain operates quietly every day, and the moment you begin to see it, you regain power. Not power over others, power over yourself. This is not about blaming yourself for struggles. It's about understanding yourself with compassion. You believed what you believed because it once made sense, because it protected you, because it explained your experiences. But growth asks a gentle question. Does this belief still serve me? You don't need an answer today, just the question. Questions loosen beliefs. Certainty locks them in place. As you listen, maybe something inside you feels familiar. Maybe a belief surfaced quietly. Let it be there. You are not here to judge yourself. You are here to understand. Understanding is the beginning of freedom. And freedom is not about controlling life. It's about responding with clarity instead of habit. In the next part of this journey, we will go deeper into how beliefs become self-fulfilling, how they repeat themselves without awareness, and how simple shifts in thinking can create powerful changes over time. For now, just sit with this idea. Your beliefs are shaping your reality, not because they are always true, but because you act as if they are. And once you see that, you are no longer trapped by them. This awareness is the first step, and every meaningful journey begins with a single, quiet step forward. There comes a moment in every inner journey when you begin to notice patterns, not outside of you, but within you. You start to see how certain thoughts repeat themselves, how similar emotions appear in different situations, how familiar reactions show up again and again, even when the circumstances change. At first, this can feel confusing. You might wonder why the same struggles keep returning, even when you are trying to move forward. But this is not failure. This is awareness beginning to wake up. Most of what shapes our daily experience is not what happens to us, but how we interpret what happens. And those interpretations are guided by beliefs that operate automatically, without conscious effort. The mind is designed to protect you, to create predictability, to keep you safe. So once a belief is formed, the mind tries to maintain it. If you believe you are not confident, your mind looks for situations that confirm that idea. If you believe you are capable, your mind notices opportunities to grow and follows. An action responds, an outcome appears, and the belief feels proven. This cycle is powerful because it feels logical, but logic does not always mean truth. Many people think they are seeing reality as it is, but in truth, they are seeing reality through their beliefs. And this explains why two people can experience the same event in completely different ways. One person sees rejection as proof they are not enough. Another sees it as redirection. One person sees criticism as confirmation of failure. Another sees it as feedback. The event is neutral. The meaning is not. Meaning is created inside. This is why beliefs are so deeply connected to emotional reactions. If your belief says, mistakes mean I'm weak, then every mistake triggers shame. If your belief says, mistakes mean I'm learning, then mistakes trigger curiosity. Emotion follows belief, not reality, and emotions are powerful teachers. When an emotion is strong, the mind remembers it. It connects that feeling to the belief that caused it. Over time, the belief becomes emotionally charged. It feels real not because it is accurate, but because it carries emotion. This is how beliefs become difficult to change, not because they are logical, but because they feel safe and familiar. Even painful beliefs can feel safe. A belief like, "I always fail," can feel safer than uncertainty. At least it explains disappointment. At least it feels predictable. The mind prefers a familiar pain over an unknown possibility. That is why growth often feels uncomfortable. Growth challenges beliefs, and challenging beliefs feels like risk. But discomfort does not mean danger. It often means expansion. Many people wait for confidence before taking action. But confidence is not something you wait for. Confidence grows from action taken in uncertainty. And action begins when belief softens, not disappears, just softens. You don't need to fully believe in yourself to move forward. You only need to believe a little more than before. That small shift is enough to break the cycle. When you act differently, even slightly, the outcome changes. And when the outcome changes, the belief begins to weaken. This is how beliefs transform, not through force, through experience. A single new experience that contradicts an old belief can open a door. You speak even though your voice shakes. You try even though doubt is present. You continue even though progress feels slow. And something changes, not instantly, but gradually. You realize that fear did not destroy you, that mistakes did not end you, that uncertainty did not break you, and that realization stays. It becomes a new reference point. Beliefs are updated through lived experience, not positive thinking alone. This is why telling yourself, "I am confident," doesn't always work. But acting with courage, even quietly, does. The mind believes what you show it through action. Another important truth is this: beliefs are not your identity. They are learned responses. You were not born believing you were not enough. You learned it. And anything learned can be questioned. Questioning does not mean rejecting. It means opening space. Instead of saying, "This is who I am," you begin to say, "This is something I learned to believe." That shift creates distance, and distance creates choice. You begin to notice when a belief is speaking. You hear the familiar voice saying, "Don't try. Stay quiet. You'll fail." And instead of obeying it automatically, you pause, not to argue, not to fight, just to notice. This pause is powerful because automatic reactions keep you trapped. Conscious responses set you free. You don't need to eliminate doubt to move forward. You need to stop letting doubt make decisions for you. Doubt can exist. Fear can exist. They don't have to lead. When belief loosens its grip, your behavior changes. When behavior changes, your identity begins to evolve. You stop defining yourself by old labels. You stop living from outdated stories. You begin to live from experience instead of assumption. And slowly, something inside you relaxes. You no longer need to prove yourself constantly. You no longer need to protect a fragile self-image. You become more flexible. Flexibility is strength. Rigid beliefs break under pressure. Flexible beliefs adapt. This adaptability creates resilience. You fall, but you recover faster. You struggle, but you don't collapse. You fail, but you don't define yourself by it. Because you understand something deeply now. You are not your beliefs. You are the awareness behind them. And awareness is always larger than any single thought. As this understanding settles, you begin to respond to life differently. You listen more. You react less. You choose more consciously. Life does not suddenly become easy, but it becomes clearer. And clarity brings calm. Calm brings better decisions. Better decisions bring better outcomes. Not perfect outcomes, but aligned ones. Aligned with who you are becoming, not who you once believed you were. This is the quiet transformation most people never notice. It doesn't look dramatic. It doesn't announce itself. It shows up as small choices. Gentle courage. Consistent effort. And over time, those small choices reshape your inner world. When the inner world changes, the outer world responds. Not magically, naturally. You begin to trust yourself more. Not because you are certain, but because you are willing. Willing to learn. Willing to grow. Willing to stay present even when things feel unclear. This willingness is the foundation of change. And once it is there, nothing stays the same for long. Because life responds to movement, and you have begun to move. There comes a stage in inner growth where change is no longer something you think about, but something you begin to feel quietly shaping your life. It doesn't arrive as a dramatic moment. There is no clear line where you suddenly say, "Now I am different." Instead, it shows up in subtle ways. In how you react. In how you pause. In how you speak to yourself when things don't go as planned. You start to notice that situations which once triggered strong emotional reactions no longer hold the same power. Not because you have become careless or indifferent, but because your relationship with your inner world has changed. This is often the moment when people realize that growth is not about becoming someone new. It is about returning to who you were before fear, doubt, and limiting beliefs took over. For a long time, the mind tries to protect you by holding on to familiar patterns. Even when those patterns cause pain, they feel known, and the known feels safer than the unknown. But awareness slowly teaches the mind something important. Safety does not come from control, and peace does not come from avoidance. Peace comes from understanding. Understanding does not mean approving of everything that happened in your life. It does not mean justifying pain or ignoring difficult experiences. It means seeing clearly, without distortion, without exaggeration, and without the heavy emotional filters that once shaped your reactions. As this clarity deepens, you begin to realize that many of your struggles were not caused directly by events, but by the meanings you attached to those events. Meanings created during moments when you had limited information, limited emotional maturity, and limited perspective. At the time, those meanings felt true. They helped you make sense of confusion. They helped you survive emotional uncertainty. But survival beliefs are not always meant to guide a fulfilled life. There is a difference between what helps you survive and what helps you grow. Survival beliefs keep you alert, guarded, and cautious. Growth beliefs allow you to open, explore, and trust. Neither is wrong. They simply belong to different stages. The problem arises when survival beliefs continue to operate long after the danger has passed. You may notice that you still react as if something bad is about to happen, even when the present moment is safe. You may hold back words, hide emotions, or doubt your abilities, not because the situation requires it, but because an old belief is still in control. This realization can feel uncomfortable at first. It can feel like discovering that you have been living according to rules you never consciously chose. But this discomfort is not a setback. It is a sign of awakening. Awakening is not always peaceful in the beginning. It often comes with confusion, questioning, and emotional release. When old beliefs begin to loosen, emotions that were once suppressed may surface. Sadness you never fully processed, anger you never allowed yourself to feel, grief you postponed because you needed to stay strong. These emotions are not signs of weakness. They are signs that your inner system finally feels safe enough to release what it has been holding. Emotions do not leave when they are ignored. They leave when they are felt. And feeling does not mean drowning. It means allowing emotion to move through you instead of staying trapped inside. As this emotional movement happens, something shifts in your sense of identity. You stop defining yourself by old labels. You are no longer the shy one, the weak one, the one who always fails, or the one who never speaks up. These labels begin to feel distant, almost unfamiliar. Not because you are pretending to be someone else, but because those labels were built on beliefs that no longer feel true. You begin to see yourself as a process rather than a fixed identity. A person who is learning, a person who is evolving, a person who is allowed to change. This perspective is deeply freeing. When you see yourself as a process, mistakes lose their power to define you. They become part of movement, not proof of failure. You stop asking, "What's wrong with me?" And you start asking, "What is this teaching me?" That question changes everything. Learning replaces judgment. Curiosity replaces fear. Patience replaces urgency. You no longer rush to arrive somewhere. You allow yourself to grow. And growth has a rhythm. Some days feel light and confident. Some days feel heavy and uncertain. But you no longer interpret uncertainty as danger. You understand it as part of expansion. You realize that confidence is not the absence of doubt. It is the ability to move even when doubt is present. This understanding creates inner stability. You stop waiting for the perfect moment to act. You stop waiting to feel ready. You act when readiness is incomplete, and through action, readiness develops. This shift affects how you relate to others as well. Will your beliefs change? Your relationships change. You stop seeking validation in the same way. You stop needing constant reassurance. You stop measuring your worth through others' responses. This does not make you distant. It makes you grounded. You listen more openly. You speak more honestly. You express needs without guilt. Because when you trust yourself, you don't need to manipulate outcomes. You don't need to perform or pretend. You allow interactions to unfold naturally. This authenticity attracts healthier connections. Not because you are trying harder, but because you are no longer hiding. People feel when someone is comfortable with themselves. They feel when words are spoken without inner conflict. This calm presence is powerful. It also changes how you deal with conflict. You no longer see disagreement as rejection. You no longer see criticism as an attack on your identity. You evaluate information without collapsing emotionally. If something is useful, you take it. If it is not, you let it go. This flexibility is emotional strength. Rigid beliefs create fragile emotions. Flexible beliefs create resilience. Resilience does not mean you are unaffected by life. It means you recover faster. You feel disappointment, but you don't stay stuck. You feel fear, but you don't freeze. You feel sadness, but you don't lose yourself in it. You move through emotions instead of being controlled by them. This movement restores energy. For a long time, much of your energy may have been tied up in overthinking, self-criticism, and emotional tension. As beliefs soften, that energy becomes available again. You feel more alive, more present, more engaged with life. You begin to notice small moments again. A quiet morning, a meaningful conversation, a sense of calm while doing ordinary things. These moments were always there. Your mind was just too busy fighting itself to notice them. As inner conflict reduces, appreciation increases. You no longer need life to be extraordinary to feel okay. You find meaning in simplicity. This does not make you passive. It makes you intentional. You still have goals. You still have dreams. But now your goals are guided by clarity instead of fear. You no longer chase success to prove your worth. You pursue growth because it feels aligned. Alignment is different from pressure. Pressure says, I must become something to be enough. Alignment says, I am growing because it feels true to who I am. This difference changes how you experience effort. Effort no longer drains you as much. It feels purposeful. You understand that struggle is not a sign you are on the wrong path. It is often a sign you are stretching beyond old limits. You stop comparing your pace with others. You respect your own rhythm. Comparison loses power when self-trust grows. Self-trust does not come from always succeeding. It comes from knowing you will stay with yourself even when things go wrong. You become someone you can rely on. This inner reliability is deeply calming. You no longer abandon yourself when you make mistakes. You don't turn against yourself when progress is slow. You remain present and supportive. This inner support changes how you experience challenges. Challenges feel manageable instead of overwhelming. Not because they are smaller, but because you are steadier. And steadiness creates confidence. Quiet confidence. Not loud, not showy, just grounded. You don't need to convince anyone of your worth. You don't need to prove that you belong. You know it internally. This knowing influences how you use language, how you express yourself, and how you communicate with the world. Your words become clearer because your thoughts are clearer. Your voice steadies because your inner state is calmer. You don't rush to fill silence. You don't panic when you pause. You allow space. Space is powerful in communication. When you are comfortable with silence, your words carry more weight. You speak from presence instead of anxiety. This is where inner growth and communication meet. When the mind is no longer busy defending itself, expression becomes natural. You are not searching for the right version of yourself to present. You are simply being, and being is enough. As this journey reaches its natural conclusion, it becomes clear that change was never about forcing positivity or eliminating fear. It was about understanding the mechanics of the mind, recognizing the role of belief, and gently loosening what no longer serves you. You did not become someone else, you returned to yourself. To a version of you that is curious instead of judgmental, aware instead of reactive, present instead of trapped in old narratives. This return is not dramatic, it is quiet. But it is real, and it continues beyond this moment. Growth does not end, it evolves. Each experience becomes information instead of evidence against you. You move forward not with certainty, but with trust. Trust that you can handle what comes. Trust that you can learn from what challenges you. Trust that you are not broken. You never were. You were adapting. And now you are choosing consciously. That choice changes everything. This is not the end of effort. It is the end of unnecessary struggle. You will still face moments of doubt. You will still feel fear sometimes. But those moments no longer define you. They pass. What remains is awareness, flexibility, and quiet strength. And from this place, life becomes something you participate in, not something you endure. You are no longer waiting to become ready. You are already moving. And that movement, guided by clarity and self-trust, is what carries you forward. This is the completion of the journey, not because there is nothing left to learn, but because you now understand how to continue on your own, with patience, with awareness, with confidence that grows from within. As we come to the end of this journey, take a moment to sit quietly with what you've heard. Nothing here was meant to rush you or tell you who to become. These ideas were shared to gently remind you of something you may have forgotten, that your inner world shapes the way you experience everything around you. Your beliefs are not enemies. They were created to protect you, to explain the world, to help you make sense of life. But not every belief needs to stay forever. Some can be questioned, some can be softened, and some can be replaced with kinder, stronger ones. You don't need to change everything today. You don't need to feel confident all at once. Real change begins quietly, often in moments no one else can see. Each time you notice a thought and choose awareness instead of fear, you take a step forward. Each time you stay curious instead of judging yourself, you grow stronger. Carry these ideas with you gently. Let them show up in small moments, when you doubt yourself, when you feel stuck, when you wonder if you are capable of more. You are. Growth is not about becoming someone new. It is about remembering who you already are beneath the noise. Thank you for sharing this time here at English Mindspace. Keep listening, keep reflecting, and keep moving forward, one belief at a time.